Hey everyone, Mary Czarnecki here, marketing geek extraordinaire. So wanted to welcome you guys to this week's mini marketing training. Today we're talking about a topic that is near and dear to, I know, many of your hearts. I took a quick little poll in my private community this week about what is most painful for people when it comes to marketing their business. And this one rang loud and clear, which is creating content that not only converts, but feels good to create, right? Content that brings your people in, converts strangers into leads, into clients, but doesn't feel icky, sleazy, or lame to create, right? So today's little mini marketing training is all about creating content that is gonna help you convert more clients, customers to your business, but it's going to feel good to be able to create. So if you haven't joined me for any of my marketing trainings or workshops previously, welcome. I'm Mary Czarnecki. I am a marketing geek and 20-year corporate marketing veteran. I specialize in helping small businesses and entrepreneurs create their irresistible messages, create their compelling offers, and get those offers in front of the people who need them. So let's jump into today's topic. So just briefly, let's set the stage, right? If you are not a marketer by profession, you might be confused about why I focus so much of my content on strategic marketing. So the reason I focus on strategic marketing, that's my specialty, that's what I love talking about, that's what I love helping my clients with, is because without having that strategic marketing approach and you jump right into tactics, you're not going to be effective, right? That's how people get overwhelmed. That's how people start succumbing to what we like to call shiny object syndrome. Whenever you're feeling that pull of shiny object syndrome or feeling overwhelmed by all the things that you're trying to do in your marketing, it's probably because you've jumped too quickly into tactics, right? So the difference between tactical marketing and strategic marketing is that strategic marketing really focuses on what you say and how you say it, versus tactical marketing is really, how does that all come to life? Like, what platforms are you using? What's the details of it? What's your execution plan? All of these kind of things. Now, if you jump into those things too quickly before you figure out what it is you're saying and who you're saying it to and why you're saying it and how is it going to help the person progress from being a stranger to a customer, then you have a problem, right? So that is really effective way to sync your business, is to jump right into tactics. So we like to focus here on strategic marketing. And so especially when it comes to today's topic, which is creating content that converts but doesn't feel sleazy and lame, it's super important to think about it from a strategic perspective. Because what do we really want our marketing to do for us, right? For our businesses. Our marketing is really supposed to help our buyers, our potential buyers, customers, clients, move along that buyer's journey from just thinking about maybe solving this problem that they have to deciding that they are going to purchase from you, that you're the person who's going to solve that problem for them, right? So it's helping them make that decision process easy, right? So let's talk about the 3 keys to creating content in your business that are going to help move those people through that decision-making process, right? So when you're thinking about these things, try and ask yourself as I go through each of the 3, am I doing this? And if you are, awesome. If you aren't, or you don't feel like you're doing it well, give yourself some grace. This is not meant to be judgmental. This is meant to be educational and motivate you guys to be better than you are now, right? Everything is a process. And the other thing about marketing is it is going to be test and learn. So even if you're an advanced marketer, even if you are an advanced business owner, even if you are already making 6-7 figures in your business, there's still more to learn and there's still ways to optimize, right? Because we can always grow. All right, so let's talk about the first key. So number 1 is to know your audience. Now, if you've watched my training at all before, you've probably noticed that I am super keen and dedicated to helping people first and foremost figure out who it is that they're talking to. Because to be honest, if you don't know who you're talking to, how are you going to know what to say, right? So if you aren't clear on who your audience is and what their wants, needs, desires, hot buttons are, the things that are keeping them up at night, what we like to call insights, that deep penetrating truth that's keeping them stuck, keeping them suffering at their core. If you're not familiar with that, if you're not clear on that, you need to stop and go figure that out, right? So now if you are clear about that and you know your audience, this is where you can actually take it to the next level and start creating audience intelligence. So what I love to do when I first start working with a client is to make sure that we're super clear on who it is they're talking to, right? We know their market, we know their niche, we know their target audience, we know their profile, we know all of those different things. But we really start to dig in to, do you know what terms that they use? Do you know what jargon they use to describe their pain? Do you know what it is that they're saying about what they're suffering with their pain? Now, here's the thing. I usually talk about things like pain and suffering and all these kind of negative connotations when it comes to like customer insights or audience insights. Now, you might be saying, well, Mary, does it always have to be painful? Like, does it always have to be negative? No, it doesn't have to be negative. But here's the thing, is people are either moving further away from pain or closer to pleasure. Now, pain is a pretty big driver, right? You may have heard the story of the friend who went over to his, buddy's house and his dog is sitting there whimpering. And his buddy's like, why is your dog whimpering? What's going on? And his friend's like, oh, well, he's sitting on a nail. And his friend's like, well, why doesn't he just get up and move? And he's like, well, it's just annoying. It's not painful enough to make him move. It's just annoying. So he's just going to sit there and whine. Now, you don't want the nail problem. You're not going to be solving the nail problem and making bank. What you want to find is the pain that is so painful that it makes them want to move, right? So you got to find the bigger nail. So once you've figured out that bigger nail, that deeper insight that's going to get people to want to take action, to start to create movement, to start to look for a solution and potentially decide on you as the solution. So that's what I mean by digging into your audience. So really knowing your audience. So that's your first key, is you really need to dig into that, find out what people are talking about, using their language to describe their pain and kind of uncovering that for your business. All right, so that's number one. Number two is going to be, when you're creating this content, think about where the person is on the journey. Is this content providing value at the beginning phase of their search for a solution, at the middle phase where they're kind of evaluating their options, or are they what we like to call a now buyer? Are they deciding right now, this week, it's gonna happen, it's an emergency situation, and they just have to figure out who the best person is, right? So is it the beginning, the middle, or the now buyer phase? And so when you're thinking about creating the content, think about how what you're providing in that content is moving them just to the next step, right? You're not going to jump from the very first step all the way to the end most of the time, right? There might be a few people that go crazy and what we like to say, jump your funnel. But most of the time, you're just trying to get them to the next step. You're right. You're kind of moving them along that journey, that educational journey. But you do need to provide value that's going to change their perspective, that's going to give them a new way of looking at this, the vision, the hope of solving that problem. So something that's going to help educate them, but more than just educate them, move them along the journey, right? So when you're providing value, when you're creating the content itself, think about that. The other thing with the content part, with the second key that's really essential and actually is really kind of like a ninja insider tip, is think about using story. So if you use story to illustrate something, it's a great way because it's how we as humans over our evolution have communicated, right? We pass down knowledge through stories. That's what all these myths and legends used to teach us about lessons, because we were communicating it through a story. You can understand that hero's journey, that evolution of their path, how they came up against challenges, how they found solutions, how they had epiphanies, all of these different things. So when you're creating your content, think about weaving in stories to the content. So the third step or key to creating content that converts and doesn't feel sleazy is going to be to make sure that you give a clear next step. The worst possible feeling for someone who is excited by the content that you're sharing, by the information you're giving them, is to leave them hanging. So you have now won them over. You've now gotten them intrigued. You've changed their perspective. You've piqued their interest. They are starting to know, like, and trust you. And then you'll leave them hanging. They have no idea how to take the next step with you. They have no idea how to continue the conversation or continue the relationship. So make it easy on your audience, right? You want to make sure that they know what the next step is, whether you're inviting them to download something that's going to give them more information about what it is you're talking about or sharing about, whether it's a place that they can connect with you personally, one-on-one, whether it's a community that they can join to learn more about you, to engage with people that you're serving, that kind of thing. But make the next step clear for them. Don't just leave them hanging, right? Okay, so let's recap really quickly. So the 3 keys that we covered today is know your audience, because why? Why do we want to know our audience? We want to know our audience because if you know the audience that you're serving, if you know what their pains are, if you know how they're talking about those pains and the way that they're speaking about it, the language that they're using, hey, insider hack, you can actually use that language and turn it right back around and feed it back to them. Because why? Because that's the language that's going to pique their interest. Whenever you're thinking about creating content or marketing for your business, there's a key 4-step equation you want to think about, right? You want to think about, you want to basically interrupt them, you want to stop them, you want to engage them, you want to educate them, and then you want to convert or offer them, basically. That's the 4-step conversion equation I like to work with on my clients. So basically, when you are knowing your audience and you're using their language, if they see their language, they're gonna be like, she's inside my head. She knows exactly what I'm feeling, what I'm stuck with, what I'm feeling torn about, what's keeping me up at night, right? What's waking me up first thing in the morning in a cold sweat. So if they see their words, they're going to know you're their person, right? So that's what number 1 is all about. Knowing your person, knowing their pains, knowing their language so that you can use that to capture their attention when you're creating this content. Number 2 is going to be all about providing the value and being thoughtful about what value this is providing. So is this the beginning of their journey, the middle, or the end? Are they a now buyer, or are they somewhere along that spectrum and you're trying to move them through education, right? So when you're providing value, think about the phase of the journey that this specific piece of content, this specific piece of marketing is going to give them, right? What value are you giving them? And then last but not least, you want to give them a clear next step, right? So don't make them figure out how to take the next step with you. Because I tell you what, if you make it hard on your audience, if you make it hard on people to figure out how to work with you, they're going to find someone else who's going to make it easy, and they're not going to work with you. They're going to go to the next person. Even if you are super compelling, even if you are super interesting, even if they totally vibe with you, if you make it hard for them to figure out how to work with you, they are going to leave you. So make sure that this 3rd key sinks in and you make it super clear and strategic about what is the next step that you want them to take with you. So say you get people liking, commenting, sharing your posts, right? What do you want them to do next? Do you want them to join a Facebook group? Do you want them to join your email list? Do you want them to get on a call with you? Think about that. As the business owner, it is your responsibility to figure out what is the buyer's journey and then lay that out very clearly for them so they know how to take the next step to engage with you and work with you on a deeper level. So hopefully those 3 keys are a good stepping off point for you guys to start creating your own content for your audience. I love sharing this kind of information because even small tweaks, small ways of thinking more strategically about the marketing that you're doing, the content that you're creating, the messages you're putting out there, the market research you're doing into your audience, these small little things are really, really good for your business because this is a wide open field. There are so many businesses out there, so many entrepreneurs that are not paying attention to these small but essential elements of their marketing. And that leaves the door wide open for people who are willing to be strategic, to think more deeply about their marketing, their messaging, the way they're crafting their offers, the way that they're engaging with their audience. And in today's environment, it's so exciting because we have access to our own TV stations on Facebook, on Instagram. We've got our own radio stations with podcasts. We have no excuse because distribution is free. There is no more needing the big budgets that I used to have at Johnson & Johnson or WebMD to try and get in front of your audience. You have the accessibility. Now it's just on you to create the content that's going to help them make those decisions, right? Help them work through that buying decision, that educational process, that customer journey. So hopefully this was helpful to you today. If you have any burning questions or issues that are popping into your head after anything I shared today, drop them in the comments below. I would love to hear your questions, and I would love to continue the conversation. So I'm going to drop a link below where you can continue the conversation with me and get my MBA brain working on your business. So I look forward to continuing the conversation and seeing you there. Cheers.